It's time for another episode of The Oil Stream with Dustin Nielson and Tom Gazzola, presented by Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to The Oil Stream. You're joining us live right here. Is Tommy still getting his mic set up? Tom Gazzola will be hopping on with us here right as well. I don't even know if Tommy knows that we're live right now.
He doesn't have his headphones in. No, he's getting there.
We're watching Tommy Gazzola.
It's not like the Oilers started early practice today.
Yeah. Oh, Tommy Gazzola, the latest from the rink when he slides in and is ready to go. And obviously there's a few things to discuss on the Oil Stream today. If you are listening on TuneIn or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, please feel free to chime in with your questions, 780-218-9999. And, of course, in the Nasty Chat, this bad boy will be hot today as we work our way through a game day edition of the Oil Stream. We got some line combinations that we'll get to as well. Tommy Gazzola, what's up, buddy? How you doing, man?
Hi, good afternoon, Dusty. So much going on, my goodness. As I watch my dog go over paint cans, I would like her to leave them alone, but she's a curious little thing. Man, what a couple of days, dude. This has been wild. Just wild. So here we are. Let's have some fun.
What was the vibe like at the rink, buddy?
Weird. Here we go again. That type of mentality. Yesterday at the press conference, it was Quinn Phillips on the hangout called it dead energy. It was dead energy. Like, it's like, what is happening? Here we are again. And listen, like, I know that this was kind of expected because of how bad things were with the team and the results and all of that, but it's almost just like, all right, I guess. Here we are again. I think that was my 9th coach's press conference or 10th.
We've been doing the Oil Stream for like 3 years. This is our second one of these already.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, it is ridiculous though, man. Like, the entire thing was an optical nightmare for the organization yesterday. It really was. And now, I guess in the 32 Thoughts pod, Elliot Friedman says that he's hearing that all the players are happy with this. So that's interesting. You'd think that this, and he also said that, it's clearly a Jeff. Look, of course this is a Jeff Jackson situation. Do you think Ken Holland, he's always bragged about how, that last coaching change was the first one he ever had to do in season. And now he's going to roll out another one 13 games in on a guy that's always been dubbed one of his guys because he had him in Detroit and all this stuff. Like, none of that really adds up to ever thinking that this was a Ken Holland decision, despite the fact yesterday at this god-awful press conference that they held that basically said he had to make the decision. Like, I don't know, Tommy, like, I laid it out on our show this morning. It looked like a dysfunctional family sitting up at the table yesterday. I mean, Ken Holland looked like this, like the grandfather figure that's rambling on, and his son, who would be the dad figure in this situation, Jeff Jackson's kind of just letting him there ramble on, like, oh, just let dad think this is his situation, and then you've got, or his decision, and then you've got Knoblauch sitting there like this son who always has wanted this opportunity but isn't sure this is the family business that he wants to get into. And then Paul Coffey's the brother-in-law or uncle who has no idea why he's even there, and he's not sure he wants to be there. Like, if this was happening in another market, we would be mocking it relentlessly. Like, it was not a good look yesterday for this organization. And I'm not even talking about the decision to relieve Jay Woodcroft of his duties. We'll certainly get into that. But just the way that it was executed yesterday and the way that it looked yesterday, and you've got Paul Coffey sitting over here saying, no, I initially didn't want this, and then Ken Holland saying, yeah, I know I talked to a lot of the leaders last week. I can't tell you what they said, but I take what they said into making my decision. And then it goes directly, and you're with Connor really well, and Jeff Jackson basically comes on and says, no, none of these guys were brought into this. So, like, there is a malfunction at the junction for this organization right now, buddy.
Yeah. I was the one who asked that question too, and I was listening to Ken, and I was like, okay, you did talk to them. Then I was listening to Jeff, and he goes, no, they were not consulted on the decision. And I was like, got it. This is all messed up. And I was like, I'll just leave it at that, because I think at this point in time, we all understand how messed up this situation is with this team. So, yeah, I thought that this was another can of worms where we're just like, oh my God, here we go again. I don't know, Dusty. Like I thought Kris Knoblauch looked like a deer caught in headlights watching that.
Yes, he did. Jeff Jackson even looked a little awkward during the entire thing, to be honest with you.
Yeah. There's no good vibes. There was no good vibes. It was just like, oh, okay. So, and then them saying that the decision, I think, when did they say the decision was made? Saturday afternoon. I think, Steve Sandor
said Saturday afternoon, yep.
Yeah, what was the timeline? And they said Saturday afternoon. And I'm like, my goodness, you guys, like, figure it out. Like, it's like they did it just to do it.
Yes, exactly. And they did it because they're like, man, how do we get out of this start? Well, we better make a coaching change. You know what I mean? Like, there would have been other ways. Like, I honestly think this team does turn it around. I think they would have turned it around with Jay Woodcroft there anyway. I honestly believe that. I don't think this was a 100% necessary thing to do. I mean, we talk about the optics of it all. It can't just – I know Connor said – and we're going to hear what Conor McDavid had to say today. We're going to hear what Draisaitl had to say today. We got that video locked and loaded, ready to go. But it can't be a coincidence that the last three major moves for this organization were Connor's former junior line mate, Connor's agent being put in place to run the entire thing, and now his former junior coach. And I'm not saying he's 100% dictating the shots, but you can't tell me the organization at minimum isn't being like, well, what can make Connor happy? What'll make him stay? Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Like, I'll never believe for a second that it's just randomly happening that all these things are being put in place to make Conor McDavid happy here, Tommy. Like, that alone just kind of looks ridiculous.
Well, I mean, for the older crowd, it's like making Wayne Gretzky's dad the head director of pro scouting, and then Keith Gretzky becomes the assistant coach, and they get him into the team on the AHL team, and then they make Mike Barnett the GM while Glenn Sather is the president.
Tommy, did you move your mic? You seem super quiet now. Did you move your mic somewhere, or did you adjust it somewhere?
No, I didn't.
Because you were super loud earlier.
How's this?
Oh yeah, there you go. What happened?
Is that okay?
What'd you do?
I don't know. I'm watching my levels. There we go. It's okay.
Whatever. Oh no, it was super quiet for like the last minute. I don't know. That was kind of weird. 780-218-9999. 780-218-9999, and we will get to a few of those. Good afternoon, boys. I hear a lot of people want Holland fired, but isn't it worse to be sitting up there as Jeff's puppet? He isn't making any more decisions, being used to the end of his career. I could see Woody and Manson ending up in Ottawa. Who knows? Well, we'll see where those guys end up. I would assume there's a landing spot for them at some point here in the near future. It's a very weird vibe with Ken Holland, because he's up there talking like he's still the GM, but you know that Jeff Jackson has final approval on everything. And, that's kind of an unfair situation to put Kenny in, really. I mean, I know he's done a bunch of things that you look at and go, well, he admitted yesterday, he goes, Jay Woodcroft couldn't hold some of these guys accountable because we didn't have healthy scratches because of decisions that I made. Like, he wasn't hiding from it in any situation, but I still feel like it's kind of weird for him to, you bring him up there, he says he's talked to some of the guys that's going to help him make his decision. Now you hear it's mostly a Jackson decision anyway, and Jackson say that nobody else was consulted on this. So it's a message from the two guys who are supposed to be at the top where it's already confusing. You don't know who's really making the decision, but they couldn't even get the same message right, which is got to be even more frustrating for fans. Somebody pointed out to me today, like, basically, if the media and the fans are watching this and it looks like a mess, what are the players thinking watching that this is your management group that's supposed to lead you to a Stanley Cup championship, and they look that disjointed? That cannot feel good.
No, I think it's finally a culmination, and we were not surprised to see that it's such a. We were saying it's a mess. We were saying it's a mess. Look at this problem they've created, and I mean, it's like we saw the train wreck happening from a mile away, and then it finally happened, and we're going, oh yeah, oh my goodness, what just happened? That's ridiculous. That's insane. They are the ones who caused it. The players are the ones who caused it. And I still think there's an element of disbelief right now. And Dusty, this management thing, I think I said it yesterday on I think or 2 days ago on Hello Hockey. It's like Steve Stais, I know he went to Ottawa and that came from a mile away. It was telegraphed. We could see it coming because of the Andlauer situation, but it threw that much of a wrench into whatever plans they had moving forward. And their plan B, or lack thereof, has been exposed. And everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. They've had to try to shift on the fly. They clearly weren't ready. And basically what they did is they rushed in a coach out of Hartford of the AHL who has been passed up. I think you mentioned it
twice with the Rangers.
By the Rangers. And this is a guy that our dear friend Bob Stauffer was talking to us 10 years ago about because of his, Golden Bears connections and his time at the Edmonton Ice. Fantastic. But I wish Kris Knoblauch well. I really hope he has a lot of success.
I feel bad for the dude. I'm not going to lie.
They thrust him into this. Okay. They thrust him into this. He's got a coaching staff that is a mishmash now. You've got Jay Woodcroft's, not even Jay Woodcroft's leftovers, because it was really just Jay and Dave. But you got Glenn Gulletson, who is Connor and Leon's guy. You've got Dusty Schwartz, who's the goalie coach, and people are wondering what the hell is going on with him. I don't know. I don't have the answers for you.
He played with Knoblauch at the U of A, so he's not going anywhere. I mean, I don't think you need to worry. He wasn't going anywhere anyway. So,
I'm not advocating for the firing of Dustin Schwartz. Okay, I'll be abundantly clear about that.
There's a lot of fans who are, Tommy.
Oh, I know. I've seen those texts. I've seen them many, many, many times. I also asked any changes with the coaching staff, and Kris Knoblauch said I'm going to reevaluate and take a look at this.
Well, actually, let's stop there, Tommy, because when you asked if there's going to be any changes with the coaching staff or the guys going to remain in their current roles, he had to look to Ken Holland and Jeff Jackson to figure out the answer to that question. So does that mean prior to this press conference, he was not even told by those two guys that everybody else would remain in the same position outside of him and Paul Coffey?
Very likely.
Because that's not a good look.
He was thrust into this, thrust. Here you go. You're the new coach. Good luck. Say the right things. By the way, here's your new CEO. Here's your president of hockey operations and GM. They're not really on the same page. We're just kind of making this up as we go. And we're going to make the owner's eyes and ears to the team your assistant. Good luck. Great situation.
That is
fantastic.
That's the most dysfunctional part of this entire thing, and we're obviously talking about the coaching change for the Edmonton Oilers. You can text us anytime. We are live on TuneIn. You can listen on TuneIn. Give us a favorite over there. That way when you go on TuneIn again, we'll pop right up for you. Super convenient. Connected to the dashboard in your car and should be cruising through there. You can also just listen on our own audio player at edmontonsportstalk.com and clearly watch here live on YouTube. Portions of the Oil Stream are brought to you by One Putt. They're hosting a 4-man cash scramble tourney, which gets going right away November 15th to December 15th using the TrackMan technology. It's $400 per team. It includes 9 hours of golf, so you each get 2 rounds. Your team can play any day, any time that fits your schedule, and then your scores will be put in against everybody else who signed up in the tournament. Plus, One Putt is guaranteed a $1,000 prize pool. So regardless of the number of entrants, no matter what, there's going to be $1,000 in this bad boy. You can follow them on Instagram at OnePuttYEG. That's the number 1, OnePuttYEG. And, of course, online, www.oneputt.ca/scramble if you're looking for more information on that scramble. That's a nice way to get the crew together, men, women, whoever, co-ed team, whatever you want. Get your team together and go put in a couple of rounds and try to win some money, win some cash. Right?
I love it.
That'd be nice. It'd be nice to win money golfing as opposed to always losing it, That'd be a real nice turn here.
I appreciate that.
Maybe this is what Knoblauch needs to do with his entire coaching staff. Get the crew out to One Putt so you can figure out exactly who's going to do what. So when this all goes down, I came across last week and I said I wouldn't I think they were going to turn it around whether it was Jay Woodcroft or Kris Knoblauch. I honestly do. They're going to score goals. This team hasn't scored goals yet this year. They're going to score their way out of trouble. It's what they always do. It's in their DNA. They're going to get back on track here, and people are going to look and, well, this was all Woody. No, they're going to start scoring goals again. It's the guys who can't finish because they're getting the chances in a system that Woodcroft's put in place. They just can't finish right now. That's gonna come back around, and they're going to be fine. So I would not have fired Jay Woodcroft. I said that first. But when they did, I was like, okay, I kind of see it. Oh, Knoblauch, and, when you got your main radio guy pumping up Knoblauch for 10 years, you feel like he's going to get a job in the organization at some point. Basically, they fired their Woody, taken a Woody from another organization, and brought him in here, and hopefully it works for Kris Knoblauch. But you said it's not in a good spot. But then, so I saw Knoblauch. I was like, okay, all right, Kris Knoblauch gets his opportunity. I probably still would have gone with a more veteran coach considering the spot that this team finds themselves in. But then the press release comes out, and it's like, and Paul Coffey will be on the bench. And it's dysfunctional. It's the eyes and ears of ownership among that entire group, and now you're going to put him on the bench. What's Kris Knoblauch supposed to think when he wants to make a decision? And if Paul Coffey has this direct line to Daryl Cates and Cates doesn't like the decision, it could be an absolute disaster, Tommy. It really could, and it's not a great spot for Knoblauch to be put in, to have the number 2 guy in the organization beneath. Like, if you had to rank them, and would it be Jeff Jackson, Paul Coffey, Ken Holland? Is that kind of how, not the official title, but Holland and Coffey have a similar amount of say when it comes to relaying their thoughts to Jeff Jackson, do they not?
Daryl Cates, Paul Coffey, and Jeff Jackson, equilibrium.
Okay.
Kenny Holland.
So now you're taking that guy and put him on the bench as your assistant coach when he said he initially didn't want to. Like, somebody, some way needs to make sense of this for me, because it doesn't make sense.
This is turning into the New York Islanders 2.0. This is becoming the Charles Wang ownership type of structure, where he makes Garth Stowe, who was the backup goalie one year, the GM the next year. Doug Waite retires and becomes assistant GM, and then a couple of years later, or a year later, ends up on the bench because he needs to have his guy on the bench. Tom Fitzgerald, I think it was in New Jersey, wound up on the bench briefly as an assistant coach with the Devils. That was temporary. I am assuming this is going to be temporary for Paul Coffey.
For the rest of the season, right?
Yeah, it does scream of dysfunction. It is dysfunction. Yesterday's press conference showed us the dysfunction up close and firsthand. Paul Coffey saying he didn't really want to do this, but he loves the team and he's sacrificing to go down on the bench is dysfunction. A coach that's never coached in the NHL, supposed to come in here and right the ship with 2 of the best players in the world after a bad start from the best coach historically in franchise history, is dysfunction. A CEO of the organization contradicting the president of hockey operations and GM of the team is dysfunction. The fact that players weren't happy and pointed that out, or you could get that vibe, or they're telling people behind the scenes off camera that they're not happy, is dysfunction. There is dysfunction at every turn right now with the organization and team going into the season that had everything going right for it. The ship sails were at full mast. They were going in the right direction. Everyone was pulling together, and this thing has just blown up and gone, and everyone's scrambling in the water right now. It's unbelievable.
You make an interesting point. Like, the players. So Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts says that he's hearing that some of the players weren't happy with this. The fact that gets back to Elliot means they want it to be known that they're not happy with it.
Yep.
And that should be a major concern. Like, I could see doing this if the entire room is like, we're so done with this guy. Like, this is on him. It's not on us. That would concern me a little bit. Like, do you think, Tommy, that this room is a little bit divided? Because when I hear some players aren't happy with it makes me think that other players might be. And if some players aren't happy that the coach got let go and other players are, to me, that's divided. But that might be taking it too far. I'm throwing it out there.
I'm wondering if if there's at this point for some of the guys, especially the ones that have been around so long or who just got here, there's indifference. They're just like, okay, well, Dan, that guy, I like that guy, but I guess, we'll listen to this new guy. Like Nugent Hopkins, I think this is his 9th coach, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
If you include all of them, even for the small amount of times, yes, which is more than half the coaches in franchise history. Right,
which is stupid, to be honest with you. Darnell Nurse has been through a plethora of coaches. Even Leon Draisaitl's been through a plethora of coaches. If they are upset, and it sounds like they are, and if they're saying that, and they're reaching out to Elliott and making sure the message is getting out there, yeah, it's a problem. But at the same time, it's one that they created. So if they're not happy, then look what you did. The only people who can fix it are you. The guys above you that don't play and wear suits night in, night out are trying to scramble and put this together in bits and pieces, and there's scraps that they're taking from here and there and trying to slap this together. So go out there and perform. Yes, vent. That's fine. Say what you need to Elliott. Say what you need to others. But then go and play. Because they created this mess ultimately, and it's on them to dig themselves out of it.
Penner's Pancakes makes an interesting point, too, and says, and it must be significant players, too, because Friedman is not reporting that if Raphael Lavoie and Dylan Holloway are upset, right? Which he does make a pretty good point on that front. You can text us anytime.
Those guys would be the ones that are indifferent.
Yeah, those are the guys who are like, I just want to play in the National Hockey League and we'll see where it goes. If you want to bet on this game tonight, we do have an EST parlay locked and loaded over at CoolBet. Click on the exclusives page at CoolBet, and you can find it there. This is a classic Oilers coach bump type of win. It's basically Oilers in regulation, over 5.5 goals in the game, a Conor McDavid goal, and Conor McDavid with 2+ points tonight. Tommy will have all your pregame coverage, 5 o'clock right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. And we'll get into tonight's game. We'll hear what McDavid and Draisaitl had to say. First availabilities from them. We're going to go there as well in the on the Oil Stream today. But you can text us anytime, 780-218-9999. I like this one. Watching live for the first time from Wyoming. Thanks for helping me get through work. Love you, boys. That's in from Nick today, watching from Wyoming on the Oil Stream. Or listening from Wyoming, I guess. He could be doing that as well over on TuneIn as well. So, we got Conor McDavid tied into this cool bet parlay tonight, Tommy. How much has the heat been cranked up on McDavid? Not so much because of his piss-poor start, and you can blame some of that to injuries. Still see us grimacing on the bench when they get over there sometimes. So, the injuries, it's not an excuse, it's an actual reason. Like, Conor McDavid is not playing healthy right now. But they've basically brought in anybody that would have significant ties to him. And I would think in a ploy to be like, here's everybody that we think you would want. Please stay now forever. Do you think it works? And if not, is today like the most critical turning point, or yesterday the most critical moment in the McDavid era? Because I think you can make a case that it was. Tommy, did you mute yourself?
Oh, yeah, I did because the dog was barking. Sorry. To those that are saying that he's going to leave, and I know that the Oilers fan base gets chastised by other fan bases and it gets them riled up, I personally do not think he will leave. If he does, I'll be very surprised. They have done everything like you just outlined to coddle him and make sure that he is as comfortable as possible, has all of the support group that he needs, that he's familiar with. I think they're doing everything they can to make sure that he is a Oiler from start to beginning of his career, something that really has not happened. We might see it with Nugent Hopkins. That's great. We joked about Milan Kitnar playing his whole career as an Oiler in the one game that he played coming up from the ECHL. But in terms of yesterday being the most critical day, I don't want to put that label on yesterday because I don't think yesterday was a good day in franchise history. Well, I don't think it was. Yeah. It was a bad day in franchise history, and I don't want to.
Either way, though, it was a critical day. Like, that was one of those critical days in franchise history, and you think it was a bad one.
It was a bad one.
Yeah.
100% it was a bad one. I think he's going to stick around. I think Draisaitl's going to stick around. Where else can they go and get to dictate the terms and what they want and this and that? That's not going to happen for Draisaitl in LA when Kopitar maybe retires after a couple of years and they could throw $15 million at Leon. Edmonton can throw $15 million at Leon. They will throw $15 million at Leon. They'll do everything they can to make sure those guys are comfortable. Where I could see this changing, Dusty, and sadly, it's going that way right now, but they can quickly correct this course, is if things go so bad in the next 2 years, so bad that it's red rotten, that leaves these guys no choice but to get out of here. It has to go so bad. And it is, unfortunately, through 13 games. We're talking about a team that just won a game, and it's so bad right now.
I know.
I think they will, like you said, turn it around. I think they will have a respectable season. Maybe they get into the mix. Maybe they get into the postseason and make some noise. They clearly cannot handle the weight of expectation. This is twice now where they came into a season with being pumped up by everybody, and they've just completely faltered. They did it in spectacular fashion this time around. The other year in 17-18, it was kind of bumpy, and then it just went off a cliff.
Yeah, right off the cliff.
But I do think that this franchise, the ownership group, or the owner, is going to do everything in his power to make sure that those two guys stay, and they will build around them. And I think he will exhaust every resource possible to make that happen. I have no doubt in my mind. But the way that this thing goes south and these guys decide to leave, and it makes all those naysayers out there right, and those that chastise the Oilers organization right, and the Oilers fans who are complaining that these guys are going to leave right, is if this team continues to falter the way it has this season. That's where I could see them bolting. But outside of that, if they turn this thing around, they have a good year, and wind up in the playoffs, even as a wild card team, then I think they're okay. They regroup. They come back next year. They talk about a contract extension with Draisaitl. They fix their mistakes. Whoever the hell the new GM is next year tries to correct what Kenny left behind, and they keep going. That's how I could see this playing out. But people always jump to, I said it yesterday, it's kind of sad that people always jump to, oh, they're going to leave, and how quickly that narrative pops up. It's frustrating. I understand, and I feel bad for Oilers fans. But some of that is fueled by Oilers fans too, because they're fearful.
780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. You can text us right now if you're listening on TuneIn or EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Hell, if you're watching on YouTube and you'd rather your comment be texted in as opposed to in the nasty chat, you can do that as well. Nutsy Dielson, which I think is a play on Dusty Nielson in the nasty chat, says, Cates is acting like a desperate girlfriend, cooking McDavid his favorite meal and letting him play Call of Duty all weekend, hoping he sticks around, which is actually a pretty apt comparison, I think. But at the same time, also like planting a friend to keep eyes on everything while he's playing Call of Duty. So, yeah. We'll see how that plays
I like
out.
this text. First text that comes in after that little spiel that I went on. Draisaitl 100% leaving with his supermodel girlfriend and to LA, most likely. That's the fear of it. Like, he can fly the supermodel girlfriend wherever she wants. They have the planes at their disposal, private jets. Daryl Cates owns part of an aviation company. He flies whoever is valuable to him around. That's what happens. Like, they have everything at their disposal here to make them happy. They legitimately do. It's on
It'd be
them.
tough to find a better spot, like as far as how much power you have, I think.
Yeah.
And what you can dictate.
Exactly.
So this text comes in as well, 780-218-9999. It's from Ken. First time he's ever texted in. So, Ken, thank you very much for maybe just checking out Edmonton Sports Talk for the first time. Tell your friends about it. We're not going anywhere. If Connor wanted Jay still around, Jay would still be around. Where do you come out on that statement, Tommy? Because, I mean, it's pretty bold, but at the same time, I kind of feel like they would have had to have known Jay Woodcroft's job was in trouble. right? When they knew that was in trouble. So if Connor McDavid thought Jay Woodcroft was the guy, I'm pretty sure he has to go to Ken Holland and say, no, Jay's the guy. He stays here. And Ken Holland's going to look to Jeff, and Jeff's going to wink at him and say, okay, you can tell him it's okay. And then he'd say, okay, he'll stay. So I mean, I think there's something to that comment.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense.
Now, and that's valid. I could see a scenario like this playing out. Ken Holland, as he told me yesterday or in the press conference, talked to the leadership group, and then Jeff Jackson said he did not consult them on this decision. I could see them floating it by Connor McDavid or talking to him, pulling him aside. And then I could see Connor going, whatever you think is going to work, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
I could just see him being very like, okay, sure, whatever. Oh, you're going to bring in my old coach? Okay, great. Cool. If that's going to work, do it. That's the sense I get from Connor McDavid.
But if he really wanted Jay Woodcroft to stay, he would have said, no, this is a bad idea, guys.
I'm sure, if he was so heartbroken, then he could have been like, no, you keep him for another game or two, give him some leash. But I could see McDavid just being like, oh, you think, okay, yeah, well, if you think that's best, then sure. I'm doing whatever you guys want me to do. I trust you, Jeff. I trust you, Kenny. Okay.
Oil Stream brought to you in part by our great partners over at Popeyes, where they've got the Ghost Pepper Chicken Sandwich, but it's for a limited time only. It's got that spicy kick of Ghost Pepper mayo spread on a buttery brioche bun with juicy chicken breasts and 2 crunchy pickles. Smack dab in the middle of it. You can get it right now for $9.99. It'll only be available up until November 19th. So you got about 6 days to get your hands on this delicious Ghost Pepper Chicken Sandwich if you have not had it already. Here's a theory that I came up with this morning. Because Paul Coffey did say he didn't really want to coach, but they really wanted him to, so he did. Yeah. I know in the past we've talked about like Paul Coffey maybe becoming the GM, and you said, he doesn't really want to do that type of stuff. He's happy in the role that he's in. But end of the year, Ken Holland's done. Paul Coffey's been on the bench. Maybe he's got a good feel for what this team is. Like, let's just say between 1 and 100, what would be the chance that at the end of the year, Paul Coffey moves from the bench to be the general manager and the number 2 beneath Jeff Jackson?
35%.
Yeah, which is probably way too high for some people to even imagine, but I think that's a pretty accurate number, buddy.
Yeah.
And how can anybody deny that could be a possibility right now? You can't. Like, who would have ever thought he'd be on the bench with an inexperienced NHL head coach? Like, his relationship with those guys at the top, man, you just said it. It's like him and Jeff Jackson right up here. What's going to stop them from being like, hey, now you guys work together. Paul's the GM. You're the CEO. I feel like it could happen. I know at the time we'll all be like, this is the most ridiculous thing ever. But remember today, because we just went through something that was kind of ridiculous.
It would be incredible if we could follow up a day like yesterday and today with this is the most ridiculous thing ever in franchise history. I want to say we're not going to see that, but with this franchise, we might. I don't think it will happen. That's my hunch. I've been wrong before. I readily admit that. Maybe it does happen. If he loves the Oilers so much, like he said, and I truly, genuinely believe that because he is a good guy. I love talking to him. I love seeing him in the press box. I love seeing him around town. He will do whatever the owner asks him to do, or Jeff Jackson asks him to do, to help this organization however he can, with whatever experience he possesses, whatever knowledge he has gathered over the course of his career in the game and in the business world. He will do what he can to help because he loves the Oilers. But would he take on that role as GM? Reluctantly, probably.
Yeah, but he would, but only if they really basically force him to.
Will we mock it? 100%, if that happens. Will we blow holes through why they did that? 100%. Ultimately, I don't think it happens. That's my hunch, but
well, we'll see where they're at in
Dusty, 8 months. This I'm just going to circle back to this one more time. This has exposed the fact that there is no plan B. and they're just making it up on the fly.
Steve Staios was plan A. And
there were people in hockey ops who didn't even know for sure if Woody was done after the win. They said, you know what, a 5-game winning streak will save him. This buys him some time, and then the next day, boom, gone.
So full-blown flying by the seat of their pants.
And I'm getting texts saying, WTF is going on. I'm pissed because I didn't know that this was happening today. People in hockey ops who knew the talk, but said internally, like, we know that, you know, the head guys are talking about something. We assume it's changes, but it sounds like they're staying the course for the time being. And then the next day I'm getting texts going, this is BS. I'm mad. I don't like this. We thought Woody had another day to live. That's where we're at. That's where we're at. And it's ridiculous.
Hit us up in the nasty chat or at 780-218-9999. It is a game day. There are some new line combinations with the new coach in place as well. You can hit us up over there. We'll get to a few of those comments. And, of course, it's 780-218-9999. If you're looking for a place to watch the game tonight, may we suggest the Boston Pizza Lounge. $5 off medium pizzas, $1 off tankards of Canadian or Coors Light, $5.50 shots of Fireball, Jaeger, Burt Reynolds, Purple Rain, and Honey Jack as well. Every single Oilers game throughout the season, and get it on in the Boston Pizza Lounge. Watching the restaurant too if you just want to take the family and go watch the game and get the kids a little something delicious from Boston Pizza. We are going to hear what Conor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl had to say today. Tommy, one more time for anybody who's maybe just joining. Just down at the rink today, how do you describe that again? What did you say it was?
Dead energy.
Dead energy.
Dead energy.
Huh.
Like,
well, that doesn't sound good, does it? Like,
weird vibe.
Dead energy and a weird vibe down at the rink today. Now, is that like everybody's feeling somber because Woody's not around anymore? Because I'm trying to think, like, would it be even weirder if everybody's fired up and like, let's go, because they just got a coach canned? Like, I don't know. That's an interesting spot.
If you see good pace and you see a little jump in their step, like that to me, if that were the case, that to me would say, okay, they wanted a change, they needed a refresh. They're focused on the task at hand, and that is getting this season sorted out and back on track. But if they're going through the motions and they're trying to just feel out their new head coach, a guy who, you know, maybe a couple guys are familiar with, you're just like, And again, reiterating, we saw this coming. They created this mess. The guys on the ice. I know that they were playing shorthanded with a 21-man roster and a bunch of injuries. But yeah, it's just like, I guess. Sure. New coach. Okay.
Well, they've been through it before. We do know that. We'll take a look at the line combinations that Knoblauch has put in place for today, including Nuge and Gagne on the wings for Conor McDavid. That's interesting. We didn't see that under Jay Wood. It's almost like he came in and was like, what's the one thing Woodcroft hasn't done? Gagne and Nuge with McDavid. So we'll see how that works itself out. But here is Conor McDavid. We haven't played a clip on the Oil Stream with just Tommy and I before, but let's hear what Conor McDavid had to say earlier today.
First and foremost, obviously surprised. Didn't see it coming. I love playing for Woody, love playing for Mance. Two guys that, I think are unbelievable coaches, and I really think that they'll be in the league very, very soon. Two great coaches.
When something like that happens, how much is it for you guys about like a good hard look in the mirror and kind of understanding your guys' responsibility and things being where they are?
Obviously our play hasn't been good enough. I'm first on the list there, so our play needs to be better. It's the reason that two good guys lost their job, and obviously as players, we got to be better.
Kris, can you maybe just discuss kind of your working relationship with the new coach and what you like about him? It's been a really long time, obviously. I thought he was great in junior.
don't know much about what he's been up to, other than he's been coaching obviously, and he's kind of been in the NHL as assistant, and in the American League as a head coach, and he's a young voice, which is great. I think it resonates with a lot of guys in this room. He's somebody that I look forward to working with.
With Jay, did the message get lost or something? Because he had you guys going.
Not at all. I don't think he never lost the room. I didn't think. Never lost the room. So I'm not sure.
So you say it was a surprise. So obviously the players weren't given a heads up that this might happen. Like you woke up yesterday and heard the news type thing?
I woke up to a text, like probably a lot of you guys did as well. I know the narrative out there, obviously, but it couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah. Kris said this is going to be a new regular season for you, it's a fresh start. Is that how you feel?
Obviously we don't start 0-0-0. We start where we start. With that being said, it is a fresh voice, fresh face, and something to build, I guess.
All right, there you go. So that is Conor McDavid earlier today. Tommy, what do you take away from that, man? You were down there.
Yeah. Listening to him again and then watching it again, I think he's sincere in his surprise, and you don't see him get fired up very often. Usually he's calm, cool, collected, and composed. And I think him saying, I haven't kept tabs on Kris Knoblauch. He was a great coach in junior. And he went out of his way to point out that Woodcroft had not lost the room. I know some people via text and the nasty chat on the pre- and post-game show suggested that Jay Woodcroft lost the room. We always said no, being in the room, it didn't seem that way. Well, I don't think what he said there, Conor McDavid did, was insincere. I think he was truthful, and
he did look like he meant it when he said Jay Woodcroft didn't lose the room. Like,
I sensed frustration. I saw it again there, and I mean, again, at the end of the day, they put their coach into that position, or their former coach. Now, it's on them. But I think it's telling a couple of things: how adamant he was to defend Jay Woodcroft. And then secondly, when he said he hasn't kept tabs on Kris Knoblauch, how close is he to Kris Knoblauch, really?
Do you believe him when he said he didn't know about it and he just found out on Sunday morning?
Not really.
I have a hard time believing that.
Yeah.
Like even if Conor McDavid has nothing to do with any of these signings or hirings that appear to be related to him, I have a hard time believing they're not running a significant decision like that by him at some point in the 24 hours leading up to the switch. Like,
if they genuinely didn't tell him that they're ultimately making that move,
but they got his thoughts on it, and then he woke up to a text.
Yeah. If they didn't, then there's going to be a meeting between him and Jeff Jackson, and they're going to get on the same page. Like that's what would happen. But yeah, I like all of us. He's a smart guy. He picks it up. He picks up what's going on. He said he heard the narrative, so he would know. He would be in the know, and they would loop him in and say, hey, like, there's talk or something like that. So I don't 100% believe him that he
I don't think he would have been blindsided by this, but
No.
he might have not known that it was just going to go down at that exact moment.
Right.
Here's Leon Draisaitl in a hoodie today over top of his hat. All right. I like to do this when I think I'm going to look cool, too. I'm not going to lie. I always like, look how cool I look.
It's not cool.
No.
It's not cool.
Here's Leon Draisaitl's thoughts.
Can we wait up then? Okay, good to go. Leon, if you can, just maybe your thoughts on the news yesterday with Jay and Dave being let go and how that resonates in here and with you.
Yeah, it's a tough day. Those are never fun. Two incredible coaches that have really had nothing but success here. So yeah, it's unfortunate.
Conor said that he said in no way had Woody lost the room. What are your thoughts on that?
couldn't agree more. He's a great coach. He's going to have a lot of success wherever he's going. So, yeah, there's no way that he lost anyone in here. Obviously, as players, we're the ones on the ice. We're as prepared as any team in the league for any given night. So it's on us to obviously be better.
Lots of coaches in Edmonton over the years. You've had certainly more than your share. What should we think about that? What does it mean when a team's recycling coaches like this one does?
I don't think it means anything, really. We've had a lot of success here, too. We won over 100 games over the last 2 years. People tend to forget that. Definitely not the start that we wanted, and that's on no one but us players. So, those days, they're always tough. They suck. There's a lot of guilt you carry within yourself, but obviously have to move on.
Where's the process for you guys in terms of finding that consistent game a little more often? The process of the discussion in here, you guys keeping each other accountable, all those things. Leon, how's it in your hands?
It's never a question in this room to hold each other accountable. We're as tight of a group as there is. We hold each other accountable in here. We just individually haven't been playing to our standard collectively as a group. There's not one player in here that probably can say, I've been playing really, really good. So this is a collective thing that's been going on for too long, and unfortunately the coach is usually the one that has to hold his head for that.
Where does it start for you in terms of you want to help other guys, but you got to take care of your own game too? So where does this start for you?
Yeah, I got my own game to worry about right now. Certainly not at my level or at the expectations that I have for myself. So just looking to bounce back tonight.
So this collective malaise, do you think it's something that can be turned around fairly quickly?
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, I've seen this group play in the past. I've seen this group play really good hockey in the past, and there's no excuses here really to just play better hockey. It's very simple.
Your impressions on the new coach?
It's been good. I mean, I don't know much about him, so obviously I have to give him some time to get to know everyone and get comfortable and get to know us and us get to know him. So,
All right, there you go. That's Leon Draisaitl from earlier today. Blueberry's in and says, all this will be for nothing if they go on a run here. Net minding and defense will dictate that. And I would actually disagree. I mean, they're still going to have sketchy goaltending at times, and they're still going to have defensive zone breakdowns. I don't care who the coach is. These players are just, it's in their DNA to leave people alone at critical times. But they're going to start outscoring their issues again, because this is a team that's always outscored their issues, Tommy. I feel like the pucks, they're getting chances. What are they, first in the league in expected goals for? Like, they're getting chances. They're going to start burying them, and this thing will turn around, and I felt like it would have turned around with Woodcroft anyway. So, even Ken Holland yesterday, when he's asked about the core and stuff, like, to me, it just seems like such an overreaction to fire a coach after 13 games in which your team is snake bitten and can't. They're getting chances, they're getting shots, they just can't score. They were 6th in the league last season in points. You heard Leon Draisaitl say they won like 100 games or whatever it was over the last 2 years. Yes. He's got a .645 winning percentage. They had 109 points last year, which was the most this organization has had since 1985-86. He took him to a conference final in his first 4 months as the head coach of this team, lost to the eventual Stanley Cup champion, and then last year lost to a Stanley Cup champion in a series that basically everybody said was essentially for the Stanley Cup. Whoever won that thing last year was probably going to win the Stanley Cup. So you're going to throw all that away because of 13 bad games in which you would have thought with what they were able to do last year, can you get out of this and can you win at a rate to get back in the playoffs? Very, very likely. To me, it's just like there's something weird here that doesn't necessarily add up. And I still come back to thinking if this is a Jeff Jackson decision, he saw this as a window to get his guy in place at head coach, which happened a little bit earlier than I think many people would have thought. But Jay Woodcroft was not a Jeff Jackson guy, and he struggled here for a month, mostly because his team can't score, and he paid the price for it. To me, that's what this comes down to. This is Jeff Jackson saying, Kris Knoblauch is a guy I've always thought wanted to be the head coach of my team. Woodcroft sucked for 13 games. It's done. And you're pissing away what you had really built up very nicely over the last 20 months.
Yeah. I mean, I'm laughing because the way you described that is funny.
It's insane. Like if another team did this, we would mock them for the rest of the days. You know, you fired a head coach who won you 3 playoff rounds in the last 2 years, only lost to teams who won the Stanley Cup and had a .645 winning percentage or whatever it was, to bring in a guy who's not experienced at all, and you had built all this momentum the last couple of years. You're telling me this team completely just turned into shit in the last month and they're not going to be able to get that back? You're delusional. It's a delusional decision. And I hope Knoblauch has success. Like, this is a great opportunity for him, and maybe he will, but I just feel like eventually the Oilers are going to be scoring 3.5 to 3.8 goals per game again, and they're going to win hockey games 4-3, just like they did last year. And it's going to be the exact same story, whether it's Jay Woodcroft or them. And I feel like you just wasted almost 2 calendar years for nothing.
Yeah. Listen, I don't know if Jay Woodcroft is Jeff Jackson's guy. I don't know if Jeff Jackson needed to get his guy in there. My gut tells me that this is scramble mode. And they're again piecing this together on the fly, because they have a mess at the top. They recognize a problem with the team below them, and they're slapping something together. That's my assessment of it. I could be wrong. Chris, the reason why I don't think Kris Knoblauch is necessarily Jeff Jackson's guy is when you listen to what McDavid said about Kris Knoblauch, and he goes, I have not kept tabs on him. Well, if Conor McDavid, who played for Kris Knoblauch in Erie, is not keeping tabs on his old coach, staying up to speed on him, why would Jeff Jackson be on top of it and staying in touch
whose
with
guy
him?
is he then?
I'm not even going to say it. I'm not even going to say it. But I think he's a familiar face.
That can't be it.
I'm not even going to say it. But I think that they said, holy crap, we need to do something. Let's bring in a guy that we know and needs a shot. Who could be the guy that can stand behind the bench, say the right things, and maybe move a few pieces here or there day to day. Well, how about Kris Knoblauch? Yeah, okay, let's call him. That's what I feel happened. And he goes, oh, you want me to coach? He gets the call. Oh, hey, Jeff Jackson. Yeah, I haven't heard from you in a while. Oh, hi, Ken Holland. Oh, you want me to coach the Edmonton Oilers tomorrow or on Monday? Yeah, okay, I guess so. You got to talk to the Rangers, but I'll do it. Like, that's the sense I get out of all of this.
Man, that would be really troubling for the organization if Knoblauch was essentially a Kate's guy because of advice he'd gotten from other people he trusts and just basically told Jeff Jackson he's the guy. If that's how this went down, the entire bloody thing should be folded. I'm sorry. It can't happen. Anyway.
It doesn't seem like there's a connection. Like, it doesn't seem like there's a logical connection if McDavid's saying, I don't keep tabs on what Kris Knoblauch has been doing. I'm not sure what he's been doing. Ken Holland referenced interviewing Kris Knoblauch for a job in Grand Rapids in 2015. That's why I say that. I could be 100% wrong.
He gave it to Todd Nelson in the end, but yeah, got to look at him.
And Nelly won them a championship in Grand Rapids. But that information, hearing that from those people, makes me think, well, they're like, crap, we need to fire Jay and Dave because they're underperforming and this team needs a jolt. Who do we bring in? Why aren't they bringing in? Why didn't they bring in Gerard Gallant? Why didn't they look at someone else? I know that they weren't going to consider Colin Chalk because he's just starting out his career as a head coach at the AHL level. Why didn't they give it to Glenn Gulletson? Gully's still here. Connor and Leon love Gully. They love him. He's a huge part of why they love being Oilers. So why didn't they go to another guy with some experience at the NHL level as a head coach? What made Kris Knoblauch the guy that's going to turn this thing around? What inspired them to say he's the guy and identify him and be like, he knows how to get to these guys? The guys, the two big ones who we just heard from, don't really know him outside of Connor playing for him 10 to 12 years ago in junior hockey and just saying, haven't kept tabs. He was my junior coach. He was great. Loved him. Not sure what he's been up to. Oh, he was in Hartford? Oh, great. Neat.
Jackson did say a lot of good things about him with clients that he's had, right? He said he's had a bunch of clients that work with him. So
fair. Good.
Yeah.
Yes, fair. So maybe he did keep tabs on him. But I'm just saying, like, this is just me popping off. This whole thing is messed up.
All right, anyway, game day tonight. You'll have the pregame a little bit later on. If you're looking for a place to go, go check it out. Boston Pizza Lounge. Watch the game there. $5 off medium pizzas. Here's what they... Yeah, it's 12:58. We haven't even got to the lines for tonight. You'll obviously get into this a little bit more, but I do want to get to it because this is Kris Knoblauch's lines. McDavid between Gagne and Nuge. Draisaitl with Kane and Hyman, McLeod, Fogle, and Holloway, Hamblin, Raphael Lavoie, Derek Ryan, Nurse, Ceci, Ekman, Bouchard, Kulak, Desharnais, not changing anything there. Skinner's in the starter's net. McDavid between Gagne and Nuge, Draisaitl with Hyman and Kane. Tommy, what do you think about that top six?
Great. Go get goals. Score ugly goals. I don't care. Like, it's pretty telling, and good on Sam Gagne for coming out of the gates hot, that he's the guy that goes all the way to the top line. He's earned it. If it helps McDavid, if Nugent Hopkins playing wing can help McDavid, fantastic. Draisaitl, Kane, and Hyman, that's a great line. That's just a solid line on any team in the National Hockey League. That line should be able to do damage. McLeod and Holloway. Holloway had his best game as a pro. Fogle's been excellent this season. Go and do the right thing and play in straight lines and score ugly goals. They're capable. Maybe they feel good after that win in Seattle. And then Hamblin, Lavoie, and Ryan, we'll see how Kris Knoblauch actually rolls them out.
All right, well, more on that coming up with Tommy Gazzola. What time you get going, Tommy? 5 o'clock tonight?
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock?
Yeah.
Up till 6:30, and then back after for all your post-game reaction. They win tonight, right, Tommy? They got to go out and win tonight. Islanders have lost 4 in a row. They're not a bad team, but they've lost 4 in a row.
You get the coach bump today, maybe on Wednesday against Seattle as well. They're going to win a couple of games here.
I think they would have anyway. But anyway, well,
So do I.
yeah. Well, good luck to Kris Knoblauch, that's for sure. But interested to see how Paul Coffey makes this work out as well. That's going to do it for the Oil Stream and all of our live coverage so far today here at Edmonton Sports Talk. We're going to have a Nielsen Show replay coming up right away, and then Tommy will be back with the pregame show at 5 o'clock tonight. Make sure you're listening on TuneIn or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, or, of course, watching right here on YouTube. Tommy, you have a fun pre and post tonight, buddy. It should be a pretty good one, I think.
I'm a little bit perturbed today. I feel
you
like.
are, aren't you? Man, if they lose tonight, you're gonna be real spicy at the postgame show.
Bring it on, baby.
See you later, buddy.
See ya, Dusty.